Alright guys, I am here to answer the age-old question of how long should sex last? And I know a lot of people are asking this question because they want to know how they stack up to see if they last long enough in bed, if that's the appropriate amount of time to last, and if they should last longer, or maybe even cut it back if you're a crazy sex guy that's doing sex marathons with their partners. Anyway, I think the real question you guys should be asking is really how long should foreplay last? Because the sex part is going to be more determined on that. It's going to be more determined on how aroused your partner is, and during that foreplay time is the time they have to get aroused. And so the sex is going to depend on that. Because if they're more aroused, the sex will inevitably be shorter because they're going to get off faster. They're going to hit that amazing climax faster. So that should be the real question you should be asking. But anyway, I will answer both of these questions. How long should foreplay last? And how long should sex last? And in my usual fashion, I am not going to give you a concrete numerical answer because it's going to depend on a lot of things. First off, the foreplay should last exactly as long as it needs to last in order for your partner to be sufficiently aroused and ready to go. Especially for women. Women need this time to build arousal, build anticipation, build excitement, get their mind ready, and ready to accept whatever physical penetration you're going to give them. You got to give them time. You can't go in dry, as they say. You need to let them build up that anticipation, let them get horny, aroused, and ready to go, build that passion. And so sometimes your partner's already going to want sex. That foreplay doesn't have to last too long, or it could not even exist at all if they're just ready to go, if they're already aroused, they've been thinking about sex all day maybe. Then the foreplay can last as short as you need to. But if you're trying to kind of build a sexual experience off of absolutely nothing, and you're just kind of like sitting there and you had the idea of like, let's make out and see where this takes us, then the foreplay could last a much longer period of time because you have to build up that psychological arousal and stimulation and get their body really ready for the sexual part, all the touching and all that kind of stuff. So foreplay is really crucial because that is our time to build that arousal, and don't forget to do that. A lot of guys go in and they're ready to go right away because they see a couple of boobies and they're like, yep, I'm ready to go. So what's wrong with you? Aren't you ready to go? And we kind of then project how aroused we are onto our partners when there may be a large discrepancy between how aroused we are and how aroused our partners are. So be careful with that and slow things down. I know once guys are ready to go, they just want to have it and they want it right now. But women are wired completely differently, and so you have to spend much more time building that arousal, building that anticipation. Unless, like I said before, they're already horny and they've maybe been thinking about sex all day, or you've been sexting them all day and they're kind of ready to go, and you don't need that build up, you don't need that kind of work to put in before you actually go to the sex part. Now, how long should the sex actually last? Well, this kind of depends as well, because depending upon how horny they are and how aroused they are during the foreplay, that's going to kind of determine how long the sex will need to be for them to reach that orgasm. If you think of female stimulation or even male stimulation on kind of a continuum, there needs to be this kind of steady trajectory up to the final top part, which would be the tipping point where they reach orgasm, and it's kind of, that's where it is. It's orgasm, and it's kind of, you hit that point and you just can't go back from there, right? So if you're doing foreplay and what you're doing is building up that steady progression of arousal, of horniness, how high you get on that scale, that is going to determine how long the actual sexual experience is going to be. If you're doing foreplay and your partner, you're just driving them crazy and they're like, you've never seen them that horny, they're like already right here, then you could have sex for 30 seconds and they're already at the tipping point having orgasm and they're done, and then you can enjoy yourself and go as long as you possibly want to or need to. If the foreplay kind of builds up at a normal state and you're kind of low on the arousal but they're ready for the sex part, then the sex might last longer because you have to kind of then build up that steady stimulation in order to hit that orgasm point. If orgasm is not your goal in sex, then yeah, you can prolong it as long as you want by kind of pulling back and giving your partner breaks to kind of come back down a little bit, and then you can build back up and kind of create this almost sine wave if you're into algebra and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I have had sexual experiences where my partner has had an orgasm in probably 15 seconds. Not to brag, but it's just that's how horny they were. And so that's easy. And then I've had sexual experiences that last longer than 10 minutes and even longer than that, where we might have even just had a point where we've gotten bored and neither of us hit orgasm just because that's how the cards were. But you know, if you're adding that variety in anyway and there's no kind of set time that you and your partner are spending having sex, then that's better too anyway, because then sex isn't predictable and it's going to help maintain their focus on the sexual experience rather than having their mind wander and not enjoying the experience as much as they possibly could. So, in summary, how long should foreplay and sex last? Well, it should last as long as it takes to reach whatever goal it is that you have. So if it's to reach orgasm, then the foreplay and sex should be long enough to hit that point. If it's not to reach orgasm, then you can kind of determine the length yourself just based on when it starts to get boring and when your mind starts to wander. If your mind starts wandering, it's likely that your partner's mind is probably going to start wandering too, and so you can kind of make that judgment call. In terms of how long should foreplay last, it should last as long as it takes to get your partner ready for actual sex. So again, that's going to be dependent upon how horny your partner is going into the experience, how aroused they are, how much they want the sex. So if you're starting from 0, the foreplay might take longer. If you're starting from 99 and they're ready to go already before you even touched each other or made out or done anything, then the foreplay could be a really short thing and there doesn't even need to be foreplay at that point. I know it's not the answer you probably wanted, but that is how life works. Sometimes we can't quantify things super cleanly and have a certain set point of how long things should last. That's biology, that's life. Life isn't perfect, so that's the true answer. Really, spend enough time in foreplay so that your partner is ready for the sexual experience, and then spend as much time in the sexual experience as it takes to reach whatever goal it is that you have. If you have issues lasting a long time in bed, then spend more time in foreplay so your partner is already higher on that arousal scale, and you only have to tip them a tiny bit more in order for them to hit orgasm and reach that amazing climax. So you can kind of vary these things yourself. Like I said, there's no easy answer for this. You can't quantify everything in life, especially sex, and you really shouldn't. Sex shouldn't be this uniform thing every time because then it gets stale and boring. And if it's stale and boring, you and your partner are not going to want it. So there you go. If you found this video informative and you like it, then come back and watch more videos and subscribe because it helps me out, helps me reach more people, and more people seeing this are going to have better sex, so that's good. Then people are happier and there's less war and stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. I hope you really learned something. Bye, guys.